On this episode of the New School Baseball Podcast, we talk about ZeroK Woodbats. Have you heard of them? No? Stay tuned right after this little intro. It's going to be good. We talk about them. They're fantastic people. You guys got to check them out. We talk about Tim Anderson, his suspension, his thoughts, culture. I go on for a really long time about that. There is a spoiler warning and a disclaimer in there. We also talk about Bryce Harper. He's getting tossed. Is he trying to do too much? I have no clue. All that and more coming up right here, right now. Episode 7 of the New School Baseball Podcast. For those of you who haven't checked me out on Instagram and Twitter, Iggy772, give me a follow really quick if you want to, or just go there and check it out. I ended up winning a contest. I won Yugo Pro Baseball's and Marucci Sports' giveaway. It was the Bringer of Rain bat. That's right, the make and model that Josh Donaldson swings, his Marucci bat. Got one of those. I showed off a little bit. I haven't swung it in a cage. I haven't swung it in a game yet, so no review on it just yet. But it might be coming down the line. It might be something amazing. But yeah, check that out. Toss me a follow or a like if you prefer. But other than that, let's jump right into this podcast. It's a long one. It really is, and I'm sorry for those of you who don't like long form content, but I got on a roll with this Tim Anderson thing, and I just kept going. It gets a little bit political, but it's one of those things where not political, but like talking about culture and race and all that fun stuff, and the main thing that you should not bring up at the dinner table when you're having dinner with your girlfriend's parents, like, you know, the three things, right? You don't bring up sex, religion, or politics. Well, shit, we got real close. So, there's that. My voice is starting to go because I'm recording this intro after I've recorded everything else. And as you can see, it's a long one. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of the New School Baseball Podcast. If you do, drop a like. If you're new, subscribe. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. I love you guys so much. Let's jump right into it. Alright guys, so really quick, I just want to talk to you guys about some good people doing the baseball world, some really good. That's ZeroK Woodbats. ZeroKBats.com is their website. Check them out. Right now, they actually have an Easter sale going online, so if you order and you use the code Easter15%, you can get any of the yellow birch bats or maple bats under $75. So that's an awesome deal right there, and they're good quality bats. They also have they also have a clearance section, lots of bats ready to ship, even lower pricing. So they're premium grade wood bats. There's limited quantity, top quality. It's a real price. The bats I got the K110 in a 32 and the K271 in a 33. My good friend Martin Dubé, and I'm probably pronouncing that wrong because I believe the gentleman is French, the company based out of Quebec, so a good Canadian company based out of Quebec. Unfortunately, I am a horrible Canadian and I don't speak a lot of French, so there's that. I can get by, I can get myself in trouble, I can get myself arrested, but after that, I'm a little bit screwed over. But yeah, Martin was a really good guy. He reached out to me last year, actually. Was interested in seeing if anyone if we wanted to do any team ordering on behalf of the team I play for, and we didn't get anything set up. He reached out to me saying he was doing demo bats for us to try, so I spread that along to the team. I got a couple of them myself for 2 bats plus the shipping from Quebec to my house. Literally dropped off at the door. Was $107 for 2 bats, which is just ridiculous, right? When you're spending $300-400 depending on the bat, sometimes you know, for sure at least 175 on a bat as a minimum. To spend $75, less than that, I got my 2 for less than $50 plus shipping. It was crazy. So a little bit about them. ZeroK Bats started making bats in 2010. And they want to provide quality bats at a cost to players that will be more comfortable, because they believe that the prices are overall way too exaggerated. Like other bat makers, their billets come from specialized sawmills, and billets are selected for the straightness of their grade. They turn the bats on an industrial atomic lathe, so you don't have to deal with like any imperfections. It's all, it's a real operation over there. They dip the bats in an industrial lacquer, have a high coefficient of friction, having a high coefficient of friction. They let the buyer select their bat colors, and they can even customize the engravings on the bats too. So that's really awesome. What's different between the way that they operate and the way other bat manufacturers like Marucci, like Easton, like all those other big name guys, what they do is profit isn't their primary goal. They're not doing it for a living. They have no board of directors or managers who want results in money, and there's no need to have a big markup there. So it's just a hobby for them. They're doing what they love. They don't turn bats all year long either. That's the key. They have a low a low cost that way. They make a huge batch in March, so there's no warehouse fees to stock billets. There's no rent, no administrative employees. They're focused on quality rather than mass producing all year long. So that's really cool about them. All their sellers are online. They have no store associated expense. You buy directly from the manufacturer, so there's no middleman cost, no hidden fees or anything like that. They haven't bought expensive machinery that must be taken care of and maintained over several years. They rent floor time and machine time in well-equipped factories for turning and sanding. Doing so, they use high-quality, expensive, accurate machines. Turning bats and batch limit to costs of machine leasing. So, with that, they get their orders in. They go in. They do the job. They get the fuck out. They don't. You don't sit there. There's no. You're not paying a guy to wait till an order comes in. It's we have this many bats to do. Do the job. Do it right. Get it done, which is awesome. They don't laser engrave barrels either. A good laser machine costs more than $10,000. They didn't want to add $10 to a selling price to cover that, so they put the personal writings on the knob. They don't pay for ads and publicity. They refused free bat requests when you buy $120. When you buy a bat, $120. Part of the amount is to cover donations or sponsorships. So there's that. So that's kind of the way they go there. There's no sales tax on their prices. Based with a low total revenue, they're not required to collect taxes. The more money, so that's more money in your pocket there. The U.S. dollar is a big factor in why bat prices are so high. So some Canadian manufacturers have taken advantage of this by raising their prices to the same level of the U.S. brands sold in Canadian stores. They don't, and there's baseball players using wood bats. They know the game. They know how it feels to use a wood bat, and they're genuinely looking to replicate that experience, spread their passion to everybody. So right now, bats are discounted. So check out their clearance section. Check out their Easter sale. You can still catch it, hopefully, by the time this video goes up. If that's the case, use the code Easter15. And just so you guys know, this isn't an ad. This isn't an ad or anything. This is not an ad. Let me reiterate on my stuffy nose. I really like this company. From day one, Martin's he's been on it. He's been really he's been out there. He reached out. We had some stuff rolling. It didn't end up panning out. He wasn't, upset by that like a lot of sales guys would be. A lot of sales guys will go, well, I spent this much time with you and I got nothing for it. Like, okay, see you later. There you go, out the door. Martin, not that kind of guy. He was like, hey, did it happen? Did it happen? Best of luck in the season. We'll see you next year, maybe. A little bit later, back in about February or so, he emailed me, hey, Iggy, what's up? I got these bats going on demo. You should check them out. They're super cheap. They're like $50 a bat, and I was like, yeah, let's check them out. So he sent them over my way, and now I haven't got a chance to really use them besides in cage work right now because unfortunately I do live in Manitoba, and winter is a fickle mistress in Manitoba. Sometimes it's 6 months of the year, sometimes it's 8. So you never really know. I do have my first practice of the season coming up on Wednesday, so I'll probably get a chance to use those then. Hopefully I do. It'll be great. I'll let you guys know some feedback. I'll have a video coming about the bat, my experience with it very, very soon. But yeah, no, Martin was great. He also sent me a bunch of stuff. He sent me some glove wax and some bat wax and some awesome stuff that I haven't even had a chance to look at yet. I've just been so busy. But I just wanted to say a little special shout out to ZeroK Bats. Check them out. Give them, check out their website. Uh, they're on Twitter at ZeroK. Give them a follow. Tell them I sent you. And there's like I say, I'm not getting anything out of this. I really like this company and the way they're operating. I know there's a couple guys on my team that have used them already, and use their bats, and they seem to really like them. So I've kind of just been checking them out and seeing. So I really hope to continue to work with this brand in the future. And I think you guys, if you guys use wood bats like a lot of Canadian baseball players do, and even you American folks, if you're listening. In America, I believe it's at a later age. You can still use aluminum bats in high school and in college and stuff. But for us Canadian players, once you're 16, you have to start using a wood bat. And some colleges, I believe, if it's interleague play, like for example, University of Winnipeg, when they had a baseball team, when they'd play BC, it'd be wood bats only. There was no aluminum bats there. So there's that. I really hope you guys check them out, and if you do, let me know if you enjoy them or if you've checked them out before. If you've enjoyed them, let me know down in the comments below. I'm really interested to know your thoughts on that. With that being said, though, let's just dive into the next subject here. All right, so this following segment does contain some language in it regarding racial derogatory terms or terms that have been defined as derogatory. Um, so it does have some stronger language, and it does talk about race in a large aspect of culture and in this beautiful game that we play and love. For those that might be sensitive to something like that, or don't want to kind of hear anything like that, you can skip to 38 minutes and 35 seconds of this episode. That's when that segment ends up, and that's when we transition into talking about Bryce Harper. Again, I don't want to offend anyone by anything that I'm saying, but it is for some people a very sensitive subject, and I don't wish to make anyone feel bad or left out of the conversation. And for those of you who might not want to hear that stuff, you might want to stay away from the comment section. That might be in the comments a little bit as well. But with that being said, I really hope you enjoyed this conversation about Tim Anderson and his suspension. If you are not wanting to hear any of that, you can skip to 38-35. We'll be talking about Bryce Harper being ejected and the umpiring crew and all that fun stuff. So I really hope you guys enjoy this next segment. Take care. Alrighty, so we have Tim Anderson back in the news. Tim Anderson, of course, the Chicago White Sox player who was suspended for one game after being hit by a pitch at roughly 85 to 90 miles an hour. For those of you who aren't aware of the situation, I did talk about it in my last episode on last week on Tuesday. Tim Anderson hits a go-ahead home run as the Chicago White Sox are playing against the Kansas City Royals. Hits the home run off Brad Keller. Hurls his bat, just absolute chucks it towards his own bench. Yells some stuff. Takes his trip around the bases. There you go. Next at bat, the pitcher Brad Keller for Kansas City plugs him right in the ass cheek, basically. Right where you would expect to beat someone first pitch of the at-bat in a tied game, puts him on first as a base-stealing threat. Obviously, Tim Anderson gets a little bit heated about that situation. he is escorted out. Bench is clear. Coaches are yelling at each other. All that fun stuff. Nothing comes to it. Cut to the end where Keller gets tossed, suspended for 5 games. Anderson also gets tossed, um, and suspended for 1 game. And now everyone was kind of wondering, well, Anderson got plugged. Why did he get tossed? Turns out, my Lord and Savior, my patron saint, Joe West, and he overheard something that he deemed was egregious speech, and ejected Anderson from the game. Now, as an umpire, you absolutely have the right to toss someone for language that you deem violates a code of conduct that players might have in a league. I know, for example, my only career ejection as an umpire was last year in my first year of umpiring, where a very similar situation. Kid gets plunked, jogs to first. The first baseman goes, "Well, you're lucky it wasn't me. I would have kicked your fucking ass." All right, let's see you later. Uh, like, that seems very abrupt. It was after a situation where it happened for multiple times. So, like, in this situation, the kid who got plunked originally played for a white team. The kid who yelled at him played for blue team, let's say. So, white team plugs or accidentally comes inside, and I'm working bases. Comes inside on a guy, hits him. That guy turns out to be the pitcher. Whatever happens, pitcher goes, inning ends eventually. White team is up. White team's pitcher, who plunked blue team's pitcher, is up. Hits a very clutch triple. Hits it, lets it ride. I think he might have pimped a bat flip on it. And does his stand-up triple thing, clears the bases, yells into his own dugout, clap, all that normal shit, right, that teenage boys do. Blue team's pitcher doesn't like this. It goes on or whatever. There's some chirping or whatever. I call time. I get in the middle of both of them yelling at each other. I warn each team that won't be happening anymore. Next person who yells at another member of another team is just getting tossed immediately, because at this point I'm sick of all this going on for 20 plus minutes and delaying the game. I just want to go home, make my $20 and get the fuck out of there. Next half inning goes by, nothing happens. 1, 2, 3 inning. Blue team's back pitching. White team's pitcher's up. He gets plunked right about the ribs. He does nothing. He just kind of jogs it to first. Blue team is almost forgot my colors there for a second. Blue team is just, they jawed him. At this point, my plate umpire calls time, warns the pitcher. Officially saying, that's a warning to you, it's a warning to both benches. I'm not going to have any of this crosstalk bullshit. And then seconds after that happens, first baseman goes, "Oh, it's lucky it wasn't me on the mound because I would have kicked your fucking ass." And I was like, all right, see you later. Like, we just went over this. So an umpire could absolutely toss you for language if they deem it unreasonable, egregious, in a threatening manner. I just want to clarify that right now. So Tim Anderson, he served his 1-game suspension, and his thoughts on it was he'd rather flush it and keep it moving, serve the 1 game. It's only 1 game. See you later. If he appealed, he said he didn't want to drag it out for another week or two and have to go through the process of it being brought up every time he's playing after every game of how's the appeal process going, all that fun stuff. So he said he'd rather just serve it, get done with it. And just so for clarification, Tim Anderson, an African American gentleman, Brad Keller, Caucasian gentleman, and during that scrum when Anderson was heated, which caused his ejection. Anderson called Keller, who again is Caucasian. Anderson is African American, a weak ass fucking blank. And the blank is a word that has traditionally been misused by people of Caucasian heritage during times when slaves were a big thing, after slavery was abolished to be oppressive to folks of skin tones darker than their own. We all know what that word is. So, and I am half black, half white. So I feel like I get this, but also not really, because like I was everybody's black friend in school, and I remember the most black people I've ever had in my same school. And I'm not even talking about the same graduating class or same class size or anything like that. Like, we had a class size of 350 people. There was myself and another buddy who I was actually friends with, whose dad was from the same country of Trinidad. He was the only other black guy in my grade, but at times there was only about 4 black people in our school, right? So not a predominantly mixed bag of folks, you could say. So I never really had the growing up experience of playing on sports teams, and majority of the people looked like you. I never had that. I never had a lot of stereotypically black culture. It was a very stereotypically Canadian culture, if that makes sense. It wasn't like a, what you have your group of friends. I never had to worry about gang violence growing up in the streets of Winnipeg, whereas a lot of black athletes do have to worry about, I could go for a run right now to help myself get better, but I don't want to get shot. And that's not the case in all situations, but that's the case in a lot of situations. And a lot of athletes are coming out of those bad situations, and it's unimaginable for me, so I don't really feel like I could talk on that, right? Like, I don't. I even when I'm broadcasting anything or talking, like, I'll rap, and if the N word comes up, I'll say it, like, whatever. But I'm also only half black, right? So like, if there's someone who's blacker than me, I'm not gonna be shooting out the N word anywhere. But if I'm gonna see a white people, well, yeah, I'm the darkest thing here, so yeah, of course I'm gonna be able to say it and not get people look at me like, oh, I'm offended, or I'm not gonna get my ass beat. So there's that. But Tim Anderson does go on to say, people don't know what we go through as black men. They don't know exactly where we come from being a black man, the culture of being a black man. What I said was one of those things that happens when black men get mad, when we get angry. That's our go-to word. Lets them know that this guy is serious. It's a culture thing. It didn't mean anything by it. It's just my language. And I totally get that. Like, for me, it's if I call someone a motherfucker, it's like that's it. Like, this motherfucker right here is gonna get it. Like, let's fuck this, or let's fuck this motherfucker up. Like that. Like, that's like, oh, if I'm heated, I'll be calling you a motherfucker all day. But that's so minute compared to everything else, right? And I understand that. I understand that. It lets you know that you're serious and this is what's going on, and that's the state of it. Like, Marcus Stroman weighed in on it. He said, you can't suspend someone for language. That's ridiculous. I agree to a point. I agree that a suspension over language like that is ridiculous. However, if the role was reversed, where Brad Keller said, you're a weak ass fucking N-word, I feel like there would be an outcry for a suspension right away of, this is a racially biased derogatory statement from a white guy to a black guy, and I feel like that would absolutely be targeted and marked for a suspension. So to say you can't suspend someone for language, I don't agree with. I think you can. I think you do have to interpret the meaning behind it, and it's tough for anyone to say, well, yeah, but it's just a group of white guys who just determine the meaning behind it. They don't know what we've gone through. They like, and I get that. A lot of people don't. I don't, and I'm half black, right? Like I don't understand what a lot of people growing up in urban America have gone through. Like I've heard stories. I'm a fan of sports, so I've heard the stories. I've watched the documentaries. I've watched the 30 for 30s, but I didn't live it, so I will never fully know. But I feel like there is an aspect of you can't suspend someone for language. It just has to fit the right context, and it has to be reviewed by someone who has the background to understand where the words are coming from, not what are the words, what was said, does this check the boxes of a suspension, right? You have to have the meaning behind there factored in as well. Uh, the other person who weighed in on this is former second baseman and teammate. Sorry, not teammate. Um, a former second baseman, Mika Johnson. Uh, Johnson, who spent parts of 3 seasons with the White Sox, the Dodgers, and the Braves, started his tweet in response with, "Dear white people offended by Tim Anderson using the N word. It's not your job to police how black people use it. You won't ever have to endure the barrage of N words used to threaten you as you try to vote. You won't ever have to have 100 camera angles catching your response as someone pegs you with a 90 plus mile an hour rocks. Suspending one of your few black players in the league after getting hit will leave you with white benches." And yes and no. I feel like as time goes on, eventually we're all just going to be one shade of brown anyways, so that won't matter. But according to stats from the Associated Press, league diversity has been in a decline in recent years. African American players accounted for 8.4% of major league players in 2018, which is down from 18% from 1991. And you can take that as you will. It's also expensive to play baseball, so it's not really like that unheard of. Like talked about in the ZeroK read that I did, my thoughts on ZeroK Woodbats. Like, there's not a lot of companies like ZeroK that are producing affordable bats for less than $75. Like, you take, and I'm not saying all, people of color are struggling financially, but there are a lot that are, and it makes it harder for those families struggling financially to be able to put your kid in a sport like baseball. Forget about hockey, like that's thousands of dollars. But to put your kid in a sport where cleats are going to be at least $100. And these are all Canadian prices, so sorry if my American viewers look at me and go, "What are you talking about? Like, that's inflated pricing. Like, you're getting ripped off." That's what Canadian baseball players pay. So your cleats are at least $100. Your batting gloves are another 25. Your batting helmets 30 to 40, depending on, if you get it on in season or out of season. There's a registration fee. There's any of the travel. Half the times you're traveling to games are out of town or just out of across town. There's the travel. So let's say we did cleats. We didn't even touch on uniform. You're gonna need at least 2 pairs of pants. You're gonna need some high socks or baseball socks, even if you're not rocking the high socks. Jerseys generally at a club level are supplied, but if you play anywhere after that, there's a jersey fee. Let's see what else. Any of your Under Armour or any kind of base layer stuff that you might wear, even if it's just a T-shirt, you still have to have it with the same colors as the team, so you have to find something to wear. Under Armour generally for Under Armour basic tee is about $25 to $30 if you get it on sale. If you just get them straight, regular price, they could be anywhere north of $50 to $70 depending on if you go short sleeve, long sleeve, or sleeveless. And that's just your own personal gear. Let alone if you're a catcher, now you're paying an extra $300 to $400 for a quality set of catcher's gear. Plus, like I said, your bat can be anywhere between over $150 to $300 depending on the type of bat that you're getting. And your glove is going to be at least $125 when you start playing some really good ball. When you're a kid, they're pretty inexpensive because kids' sporting goods are pretty cheap. But yeah, once you get into the teenage years, you want to get a good glove. It's going to be at least $125 unless you know someone who works at a sporting goods store who can get you their staff discount. There's your glove. There's so much that goes into it. Whereas you get other sports that might be dominated by athletes who might struggle financially because what is it? You need a basketball, and you got there's a park with a hoop. Cool, you're in. Oh, soccer, you got a soccer ball. Cool. Do you got 2 shoes you can use as goalposts? Yeah, cool, you're good. Right? It's less of a hassle to get that stuff. Football, a little bit more pricey for that kind of stuff, but a lot of teams and clubs have community gear, right? They get you the community pads, and by that time, you can do stuff. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm saying it's a lot harder to get into sports that require a lot of money to play. And then God forbid your kid grows. Now all that stuff that you just bought is essentially useless because your kid grew out of it. He's too big for the stuff now, right? Or she's too big for the stuff now. It's impossible. But I mean, I can totally see where it would be declining. So it's definitely a culture issue too. You got all these old heads that go, oh, these bat flips. MLB Tonight did a segment on it. What's His Nuts did a soapbox, and both of the former players were like, oh yeah, expect to be beaned, expect it. Why? I touched on this on my last episode. It's dumb. It's dumb. You're in an era where pitchers can fist pump, yell, jump off the mound like Marcus Stroman does, hop, skip, and a jump when they get a big strikeout or an inning-ending strikeout. But a player hits a home run in the major leagues, sends it 400 plus feet over the dead center fence, and he can't toss his bat and yell at his dugout. Give me a break. Give me a break. What are you doing here? What are we doing here? It's simple. Let the kids play. MLB was all about this bat flip. They posted a 1 hour video of Bryce Harper flipping his bat in Washington. It was just on loop for an hour on their YouTube channel, or maybe it was 10 minutes. I don't know, but it was a long fucking time for a 4-second bat flip to be repeated and repeated and repeated and repeated. MLB tweeted out this entire Tim Anderson situation, the bat flip. They tweeted it out. # let the kids play. The league wants it. The fans want it. These old heads don't. The Goose Gossages of baseball, they're gonna die off, and eventually it's gonna be left as the fans that actually will watch baseball for what it is. It's a sport. Let the athletes show some passion, right? But getting back into the culture thing, Johnson says it's not a black problem or a white problem, it's a baseball problem. And also Ken Griffey said that while crediting the NFL and NBA for doing a better job appealing to a broader audience. Yes and no. I feel like it's a lot easier for the NBA and NFL to appease to a broader audience because there's already that they're coming in regardless. As much as I love baseball, I do love watching motherfuckers get steamrolled by a guy who shed the block and just fucking tackle somebody. I love seeing that. I love seeing that. 100% of the time, I will watch montages of the nastiest NFL hits that you've ever seen. The NBA, I'm not really a huge NBA fan, personally. For basketball, for me, and I've been to live games. I've seen the Timberwolves play. I've seen the Lakers play. Pardon me. I've seen the Mavericks play. I've seen the Hornets play. I like basketball, but it's a different atmosphere. Like I found with basketball, it was very kind of quiet, and then something happens, and the crowd erupts, and it kind of comes back quiet, and then you might get the mascot starting to chant like a right, like one of those, and then eventually it dies down again, and then get hyped, get the energy going for halftime or a commercial break or like in between quarters, and then quiet again, and then the fourth quarter comes and everyone's electric because everyone knows that it can be decided, like the game's getting decided then, right? Like for me, I can miss the first half of a basketball game, tune in, be on my phone for a quarter, and then like watch the fourth, and I'll be like, that was a good game, right? Playoffs are a different story, but like regular season basketball, I'm just not there, right? NCAA, not even on my radar. March Madness, I'm like, all right, I'm doing research, like it's one of those things. So it's tough, but it's one of those things where, I mean, I'm just not that guy. So, but the NBA does embrace the culture a lot, and I do believe they go rightly so, but it's also predominantly a lot of African Americans in that league where that culture is, right? And yeah, you can absolutely embrace it, but then, eventually over time, I feel like the same thing might happen with Asian American players, where you get guys like Jeremy Lin, and more Asian players coming into the league. They might go, well, that's cool and all, but where's our culture being respected into us? And you could say like, oh, like the Chinese New Year games and all that. It's not the same. It's not the same. That's a 1 day a year thing, whereas we're talking about a culture shift. And I feel like the MLB knows that they don't have enough fans that are African American to actually do a full culture shift. So they're trying to appease to the broader spectrum, and that's what these athletes need to understand, and they will. I mean, it's just a timing thing, really, between the old heads saying, "Well, where's our culture?" and the guys who just want to play baseball and are about the team and are about baseball. That will all kind of come out in the wash, I feel like. So that was a lot longer than expected. I didn't expect to do 20-ish minutes on that, but that's where my thoughts were, and I kind of just improv this stuff on the spot. So I hope you guys enjoyed that bit. If you did, please let me know down in the comments whether you agree, whether you disagree, your thoughts on the matter. I want to hear all of it. So please let me know down in those comments below. On to the next one. So as it stands right now, I don't know the full incident of the matter. Unfortunately, I have to work for a living. So there's that. From how I understand it, though, Bryce Harper in a little bit of trouble with the umpiring crew in Philadelphia. From how I gather, he was upset with a called third strike that he had earlier in the inning. In the dugout, he chirped off. Later in the dugout, another third strike call, or another strike call. I believe in the video it was a 1-2 count against the Mets. And he chirped off, and he got ejected in the dugout. And the manager comes out, he's arguing with it. Bryce Harper comes flying out of the dugout. He starts screaming, yelling, has to be restrained by not only the third base coach, but the first base coach, after being shoved back in the chest forcibly. Like, it was a good hearty, get the fuck out of here shove from his manager. He gets tossed, restrained, walked back to the dugout, and of course makes his long walk down the tunnel through the dugout, along with his skipper following behind him afterwards. And I get, as a player, if you have a bad call and then you see another one of your players have a bad call, it's easy to get the, oh, these umps are out to get us mindset. But, oh man, you would think a guy like Harper, who preaches on the values and playing the game the right way, would sit back and let his skipper do the yelling. Like, I feel like it's a little bit too much too soon with him trying to be the team guy right out of signing. Like, sit back. You're the star. Everyone knows that. You're the face of baseball. You and Mike Trout. Like, just sit back. Get your bearings with the team. Know your role. Be the fan favorite. Play hard. But don't start being the guy. Like, and I listen. I get it. I get being the guy who puts your teammates, you know, get on my back. I'll protect you, boys. I get that. I love that. But it seems like it's a little bit too soon for Harper to try to be that guy with a team he just joined 2 months ago. You know, and yeah, you spend a lot of time with each other. You're basically living with these guys every day while you travel. But it seems like too much too soon to be that guy in Washington, and then to come to the Phillies and do that. I don't know. That's just my opinion on it. I've been going for over 2 hours now, recording this and editing on the fly and all that. So that's my take on it. I just want to talk about that really quick. What is your take on Bryce Harper in Philadelphia? Do you think he's trying a little bit too hard? Let me know. Let me know down in the comments below. But that does it for me. That's all for today. I really hope you guys and girls have a fantastic Tuesday. Enjoy the baseball games that are being played. No, I love you guys very much. If you're new to the channel and you found this podcast somehow, feel free to subscribe. I try and do every Tuesday, Thursday. The last couple weeks, previously, I was under the weather, and then life got busy for me last week on Thursday. But generally Tuesday, Thursdays, I put out a video. I also have a top 100 prospects breakdown video coming, as well as a personal review of ZeroK Woodbats with some good V-roll and all that stuff. So, or B-roll, I guess it's called. But yeah, if you guys are new, feel free to subscribe. If you enjoyed today's podcast, drop a like. But more importantly, actually for me, would be let me know your opinions on the topics I discussed. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Why or why not? Any and all feedback you have on the podcast too, format-wise, that kind of stuff would be fantastic. I love you guys very much. Of course, if you want to keep up with me and anything I'm doing, follow me up on social media, Twitter and Instagram at Iggy772. My name has been Ian. You can call me Iggy if you prefer. This has been the New School Baseball Podcast, Episode 7. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. Remember, you can't slide. I fucked up my own fucking horrible advice. Jeez, it's been one of those days, one of those podcasts. Remember, folks, you can't get dirty if you don't slide. Take care. Bye-bye. I'll see you all very soon.